Hello, my dear friends, my lovely audiences at the East West Show. This is Jack Chow with G&E TV. For quite some time, for a week or so time, more than that, we have heard lots of voices going on from all directions regarding DACA, all because of our President Donald Trump has vowed to overturn DACA, which is the executive order signed by President Obama. Well, anyway, should it be right or be wrong, we have a bunch of kids, 800,000 kids to be considered about. To get to the point, to get questions answered, I have lots of friends come here for the show. But today is an extra. I have a winning attorney, my dear friend Alan Diamante, here joining me. He recently has won the landmark, the monumental case as the first case, winning case for California, and I believe it's a victory over the Donald Trump decision of DACA. He successfully defended one father of a DACA kid to be not removed anyway. Success will go to the details with him, but first let's give a warm welcome to him, my friend Alan Diamante, attorney at law, a winning attorney. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack. It's my pleasure to be here. Well, if I just could clarify, the case that you're referring to is the case of Romulo Avelica Gonzalez, a father of 4 United States citizens. And he was arrested by ICE while dropping off his daughter at school. And he was arrested near the school. So this brought shockwaves across the country. And this 13-year-old was in the car, and she videoed the arrest. And this video went viral, and he was threatened with immediate deportation. We were able to stop the deportation, get his case reopened, and after being detained 5 months, he's now been released and he's been reunited with his family.
So you were the one defending the family.
Well, it was, I'm not going to take all the credit. It was really community. We were supported by many in the community, government officials as well. We had members of Congress that were supporting us. We had Senator Kamala Harris supporting us, the governor of California, the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, members of the board of supervisors. I mean, we had support from the community, and that helped, and it brought awareness to the issue.
And obviously he's so kind, he gave all the credit to others but himself. I myself 3 times heard over the radio about that news. It was a breaking news that day for 3 times that immigration attorney Alan Diamante successfully defended somebody who was about to be removed from the country, and you were the attorney.
I was the attorney.
You were the attorney. All right, very good. And to get to the point, though, on what ground did they think they vowed to remove this father and have him detained?
Well, they arrested him because he had a final deportation order that he wasn't even aware of. He had hired some individuals that he believed were attorneys to continue fighting his case. And apparently just took his money and they absconded with his money.
So there are lots of them, I believe. There are lots of them.
And,
yes.
and not only in the Latino community, we see them in the Chinese community as well.
Yeah, you name it.
Right, so there's a lot of people that take advantage of vulnerable immigrants. His case was no exception to that. And you know, he wasn't aware that he had a final order removal until they arrested him. Apparently, ICE was following him for a while until they decided to arrest him after he dropped off one of his children in school, and he still had the other one in the car. And it raised a lot of issues, the insensitivity of the federal government and its aggressive stance on immigration and trying to deport as many people as they can. They're insensitive to the effects on children in particular. Shouldn't the government be concerned on how the children might be affected by, one, the arrest of a parent, two, of stripping that child of its parent? And we're talking about United States citizen children.
All right, yes.
So the government does not consider that.
So that 13-year-old was a U.S. citizen?
That's correct.
Uh-huh. All right, okay.
Again, he had 4 United States citizen children. He's been in the country over 25 years.
Oh, I see.
He was active in his community, the community in Highland Park. And that's the reason why he was able to get a lot of support. And an organization called Indalon contacted me about, I think, between 2 and 3 of the afternoon. He was going to be deported that very day. So we had to act fast. And you know, I took the case knowing that he had so much against him. He had a final order of deportation. And you know, I had to take the case just because of the cause behind it, the fact that our government is cavalier enough to totally not consider the effect on children, United States citizen children, when they take their action. There's a United Nations Convention on the children rights, and I think there's 196 countries that ratified it. And basically what the convention says, that a country should not take any state action where children are involved without considering a variety of factors. One of the factors is family unity and separation.
Well, that's so important.
The United States did not ratify that.
Right. That's a shame.
It is, and you know, it's all about human rights. The whole immigration issue is about human rights. It's not about someone's a criminal the moment they step into the country unlawfully. That's a narrative that some people subscribe to, but we're talking about human beings, and you have to really look into a variety of factors before the government or the state will take any action. And this is a particular case. It was a big win. I think, one, a win for a family, but really a message that, you know, this case became symbolic of resistance to a government that's overreaching and insensitive to the rights of children and families.
So when you won the case, though, the father goes home immediately.
Yeah, he's at after being detained over 5 months, and you know, he also has a medical condition. He's diabetic. You don't really get the best food when you're in a detention facility.
Oh yeah, of course. It's not a hotel.
It was very challenging for him, but he's a man of great faith. And
how old was the father?
49. I mean, he was 48 when they arrested him. He turned 49 while he was detained.
I see. I see. So for the 5 months of detainment, was there any kind of a compensation because it's unlawful?
No, because technically, you know, the government was in its right to detain him under the law. Unfortunately, you know, the government does not use its discretion. They violated their own policies. He's an applicant for what they call the U visa. His wife was a victim of a violent crime, and she cooperated with law enforcement. And the U visa is a federal law that protects victims of violent crimes that cooperate with law enforcement, and in fact allows them to have a deferred deferred action, or what they say is a method of stopping a deportation. In addition to that, it gives them a work authorization and puts them on a path of getting a green card. So he's an applicant through his wife, and we requested the Department of Homeland Security to review his case. We filed it back in March to review his case to determine whether he has a viable case, which we feel strongly about, and to release him. According to their own policies, they're supposed to do this within 30 days. They failed to do this. When I reminded them to do it, they still failed to do it. And this is a concern. They're so focused on trying to deport people, And it goes a little bit further than that. What we're seeing in the government is the detaining people, making it difficult for them to make phone calls, because that also happens. Making their conditions intolerable, so they give up and they don't want to fight their case anymore.
Force them, push them,
And sometimes where people come into the country unlawfully applying for asylum, if it's a family, we've seen where they send one family member in one detention facility in one part of the country, and another family member in another side of the country in another detention facility. Just making it difficult. If they might have family in the United States, we've seen people being detained
purposely.
Further. Yeah, it's purposely. They say it's because they need bed space. We also seen people that might be arrested for a crime. They haven't been convicted. They're fighting the case, and then DHS will get custody of them and then send them to another state before they could even defend their case.
I see.
So we're seeing a lot of this. And this is a narrative that we've been hearing from the Trump administration. You know, we also got the message of the pardon of Joe Arpaio, that was a contempt of court and was being charged with racial profiling, and frankly, he doesn't even deny it. But he pardoned him before he was even sentenced.
I see.
What kind of message is that? And this is somebody who would intentionally mistreat his detainees, intentionally would just arrest people to send them to immigration, intentionally would have people wear embarrassing clothing. They wear the same stripes that you would see in concentration camp people during World War II, and pink underwear. Okay, but he would feed them. He would admit to feeding them bad bologna, so terrible food. It's part of like the torture punishment. And obviously, the message by our president is that this is okay. This is why we have to pardon this guy. So, these are the things that we're seeing. In this case, it's just one little case, symbolic of this resistance movement.
Oh, very good, very good. My dear audience, today I'm so flattered to have my dear friend, Alan Diamante. I'm so glad to claim him as my dear friend, because he has won the example case. When I say example cases, I mean the first against the Trump administration with the removal of the DACA or DACA-related kids or father or parents or whoever. And let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, we use that example case to say what's going on with DACA now, and is it legal, is it not legal? Who is the one violating laws, and what to do, and is there a cure? Stay with us. We'll be right back, please. Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to the show. Jack Zhao on the East West with G&E TV. Today, joining me is my dear friend, Alan Diamante, attorney at law, a wonderful attorney, I would say winning attorney. He has won the national case that goes so viral. Everybody knows about it. A father who was detained for 5 months, got released, got to go back home, family reunified with their daughters. Well, this is such a case that I myself, while driving, overheard over the radio for 3 times. It's a big victory. All right. So how do you feel that you want to get a message out to folks? First, I heard that for this case, this poor guy tried to fight but hired the wrong guy. Money got sucked, right? Okay, he's still in jail. And there are a lot of messages that you can deliver to the rest of the folks to know, how to do, what to do to handle their case in the right way.
Well, you have to act quickly. And that was the one thing that we knew in this case, that we had to take quick action. He was detained. He was being threatened to be out of the country that evening. we had to take swift action. And we were able to utilize, at this point, I could say that our executive branch and even perhaps our Congress is being compromised by an anti-immigrant sentiment. And one thing we could still rely on is the courts. We saw it with the Muslim ban. And this is just another example where I had to utilize the court system to assert all the due process that my client was entitled to and present our case. We needed the time, the sufficient time to gather our evidence and to submit our arguments. And we did that. And that was the only way we were able to keep him here. Unfortunately, he had to be detained.
Yeah, from the moment you heard the case to the moment you submitted the document to the court, though, how long was that?
Of the first court that we submitted something was within like an hour and a half.
Within an hour or 1 hour and a half,
Yeah.
90 minutes.
It was about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at most, that we had to provide a document and file it with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
All right, that stops the thing.
And that's how we got our
That
initial
stopped the flow.
our
right?
initial stay. Yes, stopping them from
And then you fight back step by step, one by one.
exactly.
Very good. And that's a lot of wisdom. And that's lots of guts, I would say. But now problem is that those DACA kids, right? Everybody deserve a parents.
Right.
Okay. The difference is that in your case, the kids was born in the States. They were United States citizen. However, they're same kid, same human being, same human kid. They deserve to have a parents, right? And number two, it was not them themselves who violated the law. If laws are violated. So the problem is that not everybody that lucky as your client to have an attorney like you. So what are we going to do?
Right, we're going to have to do something. In 2012, President Obama passed the executive action known as Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA. And it's been a working system where almost 800,000 people have applied for. And a lot of people were reluctant, but the government promised that their information would not be used for purposes of deportation. Today, the government is saying that we might use the information if we want to.
They were lied upon.
So that's one thing that we're seeing is the present administration does not maintain a solid word with the public. They have to respect the legacy of the previous president, and they're just like saying, okay, we'll do what we want today, and we're getting rid of this. So that's one little issue. So yes, in my particular case with Romulo Avelica Gonzalez, we were dealing with U.S. citizen children. But at the school where these children go to, there's so many people that have DACA. In fact, I've encountered teachers that have DACA. I have clients that are businessmen that have DACA, that very successful businessmen, entrepreneurs that have DACA that help the economy. So DACA has been a good thing for America as a temporary measure. We need obviously immigration reform. Now, whether I believe that our president, when he calls upon Congress to come up with a bill and give something to these dreamers, we call them, whether he's being disingenuous or not is my concern. Because what I'm afraid that they're going to do is, yes, they might have a bipartisan DACA bill that will provide them a path to residency, but they might also throw in other stuff. My concern is they're going to throw in stuff about the border security, make it so the bill is unpalatable for for let's say somebody who really wants to give something to these DACA recipients. And yes, they came in the country before they were age 16. They had no control of coming in the country. They were brought here. It makes a lot of sense. So when the narrative that they intentionally violated the law when they came into the country, that they should be punished and they should be sent back, it doesn't work when you're referring to DACA, because these folks didn't intentionally come into the country violating the law.
By logic, they were a kid. And the other day when I was reading something on this DACA report, it says that they were probably at an average age of 6 to 8. So at that age, of course, they can make decisions of their own. I wouldn't.
Even if it's 16 and under.
Even 16 and under by law, unless you're 18.
And it wouldn't even be a crime.
Yeah, it wouldn't not be a crime.
You have to be at least 18 to commit a crime. There are some exceptions for major offenses, but this is not one.
And then why they are held responsible for that, and for that why they are deprived of their parents, right? So now, and there are lots of words, because this whole issue is very viral. I would say across the nation it is very viral, and people from left or right or whatever, all kinds of voices. But mainly there are two. One says President Obama violated the Constitution, and the other says President Trump does it. So who has violated, or none, or both?
Well, there was a lawsuit in the Fifth Circuit with respect to DAPA. But there was also one with respect to DACA. And the one with respect to DACA, they did not win when they argued it was unconstitutional. So it's very interesting that the president has claimed that the issue at hand was that there were multiple states or attorney generals from different states, including Texas, that were threatening to file a lawsuit against the federal government to oppose DACA. And you know, it didn't happen. I think it was just a bunch of smoke and mirrors, and you know, it was probably one of the excuses that Jeff Sessions needed to get rid of DACA. There's no secret that Jeff Sessions is no friend to the immigrant. There's a bunch of folks that are no friend. Bannon is no friend to the immigrant. So these are the people that surround our president. These are people that advise our president. And his base for the most part are no friends of an immigrant. I mean, where they could accept that Mexicans are rapists and murderers with a few that aren't, is also a narrative that they subscribe to. My big concern is that a lot of people in his base are militia, that they're armed militia, and they're prepared to go to the border themselves and bear arms to
volunteer, right?
And they're not trained, and this is something that I anticipate could happen, and I'm afraid that if it's not the president, it could be Bannon through Breitbart that could send the message to these militias, which you see all over the United States, and they're mainly Caucasian Americans that want to bear arms. They're not properly trained to do border security. Some of them might be military, but our big concern is that people might get killed. This is something that we should be worrying about. But with respect to DACA, right now, if I may, you know, using the court systems, 15 states are filing lawsuits. In California will be filing its own lawsuit. The Attorney General, Javier Becerra, is already indicated that he believes that the DACA recipients are being denied due process, and has made an argument and claim for that. So we'll see where it goes. Whether they could get some benefit for the people that have DACA, allow them to work. Now, California, the majority of the people that apply for DACA, or the state that has the largest group, I should say, that apply for DACA is California. And there's a lot at stake. Those DACA recipients help the economy of California. California is a stakeholder.
And of course, at this very moment, there's lots of trepidations, right? We worry a lot, because not only the DACA kid, even me myself, as a show host sitting here, I get worried, because you're talking about message. Once again, message. What message United States is holding? What message United States is going to spread over the world about the U.S. image? That is the major concern. My dear friends, today with my good friend Alan Diamante, wonderful attorney at law who has won one of the very, very outstanding case, successfully defended daughter and the father from disaster. And here he is sharing his thoughts and some wisdom with my audiences. Let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, we'll find out message related to U.S. image, and what are we going to do? So stay with us, please. Hello, my dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show. I would say, my fellow Americans, welcome back to the discussion about America. America today, America present, and America future. And I know that we're loved by all the folks, rest of the folks in the world, because we're the best. Are we the best? Are we keeping up with the status of being the best? So those are in question now. With my friend Alan Diamante, wonderful attorney at law, we're getting to some points talking about using some example case, using the DACA situation, talking about where we are. Alan, I got a question. If they're talking about the border wall or something, or border Malaysia, and I want to separate the DACA issue from that. Because here's the philosophy. I wonder if I'm right by using it. If you want to, for example, if you want to control your population, right? Do your birth control. Do not kill the baby. Do I make a point?
You do make a point. It's the way you look at the world. If you look at the world, that there's abundance of resources for everybody on this planet. Of course, there's natural disaster. I would say that naturally there's population control. There's viruses and there's
diseases.
Diseases. There's
or disasters,
hurricanes, earthquakes,
or accidents,
floods.
Right.
So this is natural population control, and it's been the system from the beginning of time. Okay, that's if you look at it, that there's an abundance on this planet. We just have to be able to share that abundance with everybody. If you're going to subscribe to the scarcity model, that there's only so much, and I want to get some, and who cares about the other guy as long as I get some? Okay, there's always going to be someone hurt by that. And what we see now today is greedy individuals that are trying to amass a large an abundance of wealth, in addition to control the resources. So this might be states, or this might be oligarchs that are trying to control the resources, and then there are going to be people that are going to be hurt, and that's what we're seeing. I subscribe to the abundance model, not the scarcity model.
All right.
And I wish that we could have more people subscribe to the abundance model, so we could all look at each other as a global society.
You're right.
Where we're all looking out for the greater good of mankind. I think whether you're Chinese, whether you're European, or whether you're American, you could appreciate that we all should be part of a team of mankind and trying to help mankind.
Yeah. I get stuck. I often get myself stuck with issues like this. For example, marijuana, right? Now it's legalized. Now it's okay. And like a year ago, if you do that, you are in jail. So now, before and after law, there is a change of a human definition to the natural material that is called marijuana. So to marijuana, before and after laws, there is no change. Marijuana is still marijuana. It is law named legal or illegal, right? So now, okay, utilize the whole thing to apply to the situation. My baby is my baby. Yeah, it's a baby. Your baby is a baby, and the DACA baby is a baby too. Is there any difference between babies? So they want to remove them. They want to remove their parents. They want to deprive them from the basic. So it is a humanity issue, Alan, isn't it?
Well, let's talk about the golden rule. I think even Ken, that speaks on your program.
Oh yeah.
Has mentioned the golden rule in his book.
Yeah.
And this is about the golden rule. Shouldn't we be treating people the way we want to be treated?
Yeah.
That's the question.
That's the very basic.
Right.
That's the very basic.
And I think the world would be a better place if everybody subscribed to the golden rule and we treated everybody the way we want to be treated. We treat someone else's baby the way we want our baby to be treated.
Exactly.
And that's a society that I want to live in. That's a society that I do everything I can to push for. And not one where we're going to treat a certain class of people differently. We're going to, by their ethnicity, okay, or by their age, or religion. We're not, why would I differentiate? I shouldn't.
We are denouncing discrimination every single day, all right? So this whole thing, how come this whole thing smells very, very discriminative to me?
Well, what you're hearing now, the new narrative now, is about discrimination against white people. That's what you're hearing from our government
no,
now.
I never felt that way.
Well, neither did I. And there's no reason to. If you look at the evidence, the discrimination is really occurring against other minorities and not the white people. But you will hear that narrative, that they're not getting into college.
Oh, you heard that all the time. When people say Black Lives Matter, they say White Lives Matter. So that's how people get divided.
Right.
Yeah.
It should be Black Lives Matter too.
Yeah. So everybody's lives matter.
Everybody lives matter.
Life matters.
That's
the whole
right.
thing, right?
Right.
Why we Black life and white life, and then you see a few weeks ago you're talking about the white supremacists, and even with the KKK, even with the Nazi banners or stuff like that. So, how come all of a sudden those things are brought up? Something wrong, something very wrong with our time, Alan.
Well, because these folks are part of the base that supports Donald Trump and his campaign. Donald Trump has to be loyal to his base, whether they're a big group or a small group. In reality, they're not the majority. We know that the majority of the votes went to.
Why don't they support me?
Well, because they subscribe to it's either me or you. They don't subscribe to it's all of us.
It's their choice.
It's not like why can't we just all love each other? And they subscribe to either me versus you. Okay? Me versus the Jew. Me versus the Mexican.
Exactly.
It's me versus the black. It's not about all of us living in harmony.
Yeah, totally wrong. And also, looking at the same thing from a different perspective, well, presidency after presidency after presidency, the fact that we are so strong now is because there is always consistencies, right? Presidency after presidencies. And you were talking about the second one coming in here to deny the first one. So was that Obama made what Obama made was a presidential order by law?
Yeah, it was an executive action. George Bush did it. Other presidents have done it.
Yeah.
Donald Trump immediately came up with his executive orders.
Sure.
So this is doable. Now, Congress has plenary power. They have the power to create the immigration laws. That is correct. But the president has certain powers, and that was, in my opinion, it was within his powers. Was he making a permanent measure for immigration law? No. It was a temporary measure to resolve a certain issue since you had a stalemate in Congress and nothing could get passed.
There was one time I was talking with a professor of Australian university, and we're talking about the same kind of issue, and he says, according to him, that a country, a nation develops because you have a system that goes in consistency. Otherwise, if you have a newcomer deny the former, and suppose every 5 years you have a new president denying the former, this nation has only a history of 5 years, no matter how it is. Do you think that's a policy, that's a principle?
Well, I find that to be a very interesting concept or theory. I think it's true. After World War II, the United States was considered the champion of democracy and human rights. And since that time, they've pretty much took the leadership position on that role. They were the model for the world and respected by the world. They helped small democracies, developing democracies, and they also sanctioned states that violated human rights. Well, what do we see today? It's not a 5-year change with one president to the next president. What we're seeing is this administration is really undoing the United States image as of since World War II in that position. And what has the President of the United States said about human rights since becoming president? Do you know?
No.
He hasn't said anything.
No.
It's not a concern. That's what the message is. It's not a priority for this president, human rights. Now, have there been human rights abuses by the Department of Homeland Security? There have been. Okay. Has he been supportive of regimes that openly violate human rights? I'll give you an example. Saudi Arabia, you could get the death penalty for being gay. But did he have any problems going to visit them and partying with them? No. And doing an arms deal? No. Okay, this is what I'm concerned. Has he said anything poorly about Vladimir Putin? He hasn't said anything. He cannot say anything poorly about it. I don't know why.
Well, they're friends.
Well, supposedly he didn't know him before.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they're friends?
They're friends.
I mean, when did they have the opportunity to develop that friendship? What has happened out of Russia? Now, in Russia, you don't have the freedom of religion that you have here in the United States. I'll give you an example. Jehovah's Witnesses have been considered by the Russian Supreme Court to be a dangerous organization equivalent to ISIS. Okay? Also, there's been violations of human rights of people in the LGBTQ community in Russia. There's also been accusations that Vladimir Putin might be supportive of the neo-Nazi movement in Russia. That's something very interesting.
He might even get involved with our elections. Who knows, right?
But that's very interesting because if he's supportive of the neo-Nazi movement and we see it happening in the United States, is there some sort of connection? We must ask ourselves.
And altogether, Alan, I do agree with you. I can't agree with you anymore, right? So the fact is that lots of folks complain about the United States losing their image, losing their #1 position, their leadership. But look what we have done. We are slamming our own face.
That's right.
That is why. All right. My dear audiences, today with my good friend Alan Diamante, we're talking about the DACA issue. Of course, DACA is only one of the strange things that we have been doing with this administration. I really hope I did get my fingers crossed for something better to happen, but I didn't see. I saw this DACA issue being overturned, and I'm sharing my thoughts with my good friend Alan Diamante, wonderful attorney, a law-winning attorney who just won a nationalized case. I would call it that way. So stay with us. We'll be right back, please. Hello, dear folks, my dear fellow Americans. Welcome back to the show. As a matter of fact, discussion about America. That's why we say DACA versus America. DACA is leading America to a direction that we do not know yet, right? Should it go right? Should it go wrong? We do not know. With my friend Alan Diamante, wonderful attorney at law who just won in a case representing a father and a daughter, and that you heard over the news, is on a paper everywhere. He is now getting interviewed, but that guy is lucky. Well, it is not everybody that lucky to have an attorney as Alan Diamante representing him. we tried to convince our folks to make sure that you pick up the right one who will fight for you. Within 90 minutes after you heard the case, you filed paper in court, got the situation stayed, and then you started moving, all right? That's what happened. Anyway, so right now, lots of people say this. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's not my opinion, it's opinions that I gathered for you. They say that Donald Trump administration just failed with the overturn after many tries to Obamacare. And it's a faith lifting to pick up something they think they could win. So there comes the DACA. So by logic, they give analysis like that. Do you think that's something makes sense to you?
Well, removing DACA is far from being a win. It's just Donald Trump continuing his administration's policy to have a hard stance against immigration. And the people affected primarily, unfortunately, are the Mexicans and Central Americans. However, I don't think that this state, when I'm referring to the Trump administration, really cares where they're from, if they're from China or if they're from Europe. They're taking a hard stance on immigration. They want to deport as many people as possible. He said that first he was going to try to deport 3 million, then he said he's going to try to deport the whole 11 million. This is what his base wants, which we know a lot of the people in his base are substantially white Americans. A lot of them that are involved in militia and in the white supremacy movement, which he had difficulties denouncing as well. So this is what he's focusing his attention on. Why? Because he's fueling his base. He's given what he needs his base, because he has those folks that are supporting him. While members of Congress,
the reciprocation, right?
Well,
they're doing them a favor.
Well, he needs them. He needs that base because the Republican Party is already split, and he openly attacks the Republican Party.
If not 3 ways.
Yeah. So this is not an issue anymore. Before it was an issue of the Republicans versus Democrats. No, this is an issue of anti-immigrant groups within Congress against the other individuals that do believe in a form of immigration relief for the 11 million undocumented. And border security, yes, but not an unlimited budget for and to build a beautiful wall.
Speaking of that devil, for the one word, immigration, right? We have a wall waiting. Nobody will put up money. We have 11 million, according to Donald Trump, is going to remove. Do we, to your knowledge, have the manpower, the money, the resources to do so?
Well, he put the word out that they're looking for contractors to give bids on building the wall. They're hoping that Congress will fund it, and that might be through with DACA. They might try to do that. We already know there's members of Congress that are anti-immigrant, and they want to make it not only more difficult for people to defend their immigration cases here in the United States.
Oh, I see.
But they want to make it more difficult for people to lawfully immigrant.
That could be also a case. Say, give me the money, I'll let you go to DACA.
Yeah, I'm going to give you an example. You may want your mother to live with you. If your mother's in China and you want your mother to live with you, you as a United States citizen could petition your mother to come live with you if you want.
All right.
Okay. Well, now with respect to certain members of Congress, what they want to do is change the law and say that your mother cannot come into the country so easily because she doesn't speak English. That she first has to learn English so she could, be part of a point system where she could come into the country.
Yesterday I heard the news. They say they want to do the categorization. They say grandpa does not, grandma, grandparents do not belong to the family system, whatever. And there's only siblings.
They don't want siblings to be part of the system. They want to remove that as well. Right now, you could petition your sibling. They don't want you to be able to petition your sibling.
You're talking about losing #1 position. We're slamming our face one after another.
Well, we are, and the way I look at it is this: if Deepwater Horizon, do you remember that was the oil disaster?
Oh yeah. 6 years ago.
Right, and oil was leaking, and we had to work quickly to stop the leak. Every day that went by, there was more oil being spilled.
Yeah.
Over here in California, we had the Aliso gas leak. Remember that?
Yeah. Aliso Viejo, yeah.
It was the Aliso gas leak in Porter Ranch.
All right, Porter Ranch, yeah.
So every day that went by, we saw the images of this gas escaping into the atmosphere. Okay, we knew that it was disastrous for the environment. People were getting sick. So we have a duty when we see that there's something toxic happening that we have to fix it right away. Well, in the United States, with this new administration and what they're doing, it's causing damage. It's causing damage. Every day that goes by, there's more damage and more damage. And in a democracy, we can't rely on the president alone. We can't rely on Congress alone. And we can't even rely on the courts alone. The American people have a say-so. And they have to, if they believe that there's harm to America, that they have to act as well. And that's what we need. We need some action to be taken. If we think what we're viewing is an injustice, we can't just witness it, we have to act.
No. I'm talking about we're creating problems. We're creating issues, right? For example, the DACA, right? President Obama has signed it as a president order, an executive order. Let it be an executive order, right? You move on to something else that you think the United States needs to be fixed up, right? When you want to overturn this, overturn that, and what's overturned is not a president's job. What's done is done already in the past.
Well, look,
am I right?
My personal opinion is the following: that Donald Trump was embarrassed at the correspondence dinner with Obama did the correspondence dinner, and he invited Donald Trump, and where he made jokes about the whole birther thing. So I think he was so embarrassed by that that what he's been doing is trying to undo everything that President Obama did, even though it makes no sense. For example, the Paris Accords that we had all the major countries in the world except for 2 of them that were in agreement, and he had to make a statement that we're getting pulled out because that was something that President Obama was involved in. We got DACA, we got DAPA, we got all these other executive actions that he started reversing. It was like a personal thing. Now the issue with Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, the whole issue with it is he wanted to repeal it and come up with a new one. Well, in Congress, they couldn't repeal it. What they needed to do was fix it.
No, because he doesn't have a new one. He didn't have one.
But the thing is, even President Obama said that this is not a perfect one. We need to fix this. Okay? So he was in agreement of that. But no, they had to focus their attention on repealing it. It was like trying to erase President Obama's legacy.
Yeah, I understand.
And there's a pattern of these. You could see all the executive actions that he took to reverse it.
I said the other show talking about the overturn of Obamacare. I said I have no problem if you show me that you have a plan, something working out. Say, hey, here is something I'm working out to replace Obamacare with, right? They do not have one. They say I will work something out. But by logic, it doesn't work that way. So that goes back to your philosophy, and it goes against it for the purpose of opposing. Just for the purpose of opposing.
That's it. It's just making a statement to reverse President Obama's legacy. Not focusing, this president's focus at all given times should be the best interest of the American people. And also a model for the rest of the world. He should be concerned about that.
I am really concerned about, everybody is really concerned about the image, the U.S. image. That's why when I named the show, I named DACA/America. American is being slammed on the face by ourselves, by lots of wrongdoings we're not supposed to do. Remember what it says on the other day, remember I read the poem from Emma Lazarus, right? On the basement of
Statue of Liberty, yes.
That's the give to me. I'll give all your poor, your hollow messes, yearning to breathe free, something like that.
Yeah.
We have lost all that as tradition.
That's right.
Right? So now, you mentioned the word self-centered. All right. I would say they are applying the newcomer laws. Newcomers, first come, first served. So you're late, something like that. Am I right?
Well, I really don't understand what this administration is going to do. I'm nervous about this. I mentioned militias before. If you might know, you might own a gun, and you might have friends that are Chinese Americans that like to go hunting. But how many of them are members of a militia? This militia movement is really a white movement.
Oh, that's terrible.
And they're getting armed, and they're stockpiling arsenals of weapons. And my big concern is
you might go hunting.
That's my concern, that this president might give them the green light to do it. Again, I have seen nothing from this administration revealing any concern for human rights. And if this president and the administration is void of any consideration or concern for human rights, there's no limit to what they can do.
All right. Thank you, Alan. My last question, of course, I have many to ask. I only ask one. What do you want to deliver? What message do you want to deliver to the DACA kids? Because they are the ones so worried of themselves.
Right. Well, my message to everybody that has DACA, first of all, realize that you have to renew your DACA before October 5th if your work authorization will expire March 5th or sooner. Otherwise, if it expires afterwards, that's when your DACA is going to end, unless Congress acts, unless the courts act. So at this point, there are lawsuits. There are many attorneys and attorney generals that want to support you. Don't lose hope. Look for an alternative. Maybe there's an alternative for you. Many people that have DACA have married citizens. They might have an alternative road to obtaining citizenship that way, or residency, I should say. So make sure you communicate with an attorney who's an expert in immigration law and not somebody who dabbles in it. And don't go to somebody who's not an attorney for legal advice. Only an attorney can give legal advice.
That's so important. And also, maybe I want to add another one. California is a sanctuary state, and Los Angeles is a sanctuary city.
Well, California
Would they still function like that?
Well, California is not a sanctuary state yet. And the term sanctuary, I just want to tell you that was coined by the anti-immigrant groups. Okay, this word sanctuary. But you know what? We're accepting it. Just like Obamacare. Obamacare was the term utilized by people that were hating Obama. Okay, and then we embrace it because hey, it's a badge of honor for President Obama.
All right, good.
So Los Angeles is a sanctuary city. There's been multiple sanctuary cities where they've accepted. We'll take the word sanctuary, but it's not sanctuary as it's traditionally defined. It's just an area that we believe in protecting immigrants and treat the immigrants fairly and provide them due process. Now, the state of California is not officially what you call a sanctuary state. However, there's SB 54 that maybe by the end of this week, we will get this to be law. I believe there's been a compromise by Senator Kevin DeLeon, the pro tem, and Governor Brown, where I believe something will be signed. There will still be an opportunity for information to be shared with the federal government. If someone commits a crime, if it's a dangerous crime, a violent crime, you know, there will be cooperation with the federal government. But the SB 54 provides a lot of protections to immigrants so they will not be subjected to racial profiling. And we don't want the population, the large population of immigrants in California, or for example, in the city of Los Angeles, 1 out of 10, I believe, that are immigrants. We don't want them to live in fear. We don't want them to live in the shadows. We want them to be part of a vibrant economy and to be productive and to enjoy a certain level of happiness that they're entitled to as human beings, and with their families.
All right.
And the big win of the case that I did with Romulo Valika, it was a win not for him. It was a win for his family.
Yes.
And it was a win for others that are similarly situated that have hope. We don't want you to lose that hope.
It's a win of the philosophy that you and I both adore. All right. So, my dear friends, we're way over time, but we did it. We deserve it. All right. Now, I thank you very much for watching. And to Alan Del Monte, my wonderful friend, I thank you very much for coming over in the traffic. And I know you have to go back to the office by 10 or something. Anyway, thank you very so much.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.